Hi, my name is Darren and I'm here on behalf of Tread Classics, and I'm with Kevin here, and we're having a look at his 2001 Porsche 911 Type 996 Turbo. So I'm going to ask Kevin more about the car itself, and how long have you owned the car for?
I've had this car now, Darren, for not more than 18 months, unfortunately. The whole reason I bought this car, it's taken me longer to find it than I've owned it. The reason I bought this car is to keep it for 15, 20 years realistically, to keep it as a classic car. I'm a Porsche 911 collector. And unfortunately, though, I've lost my licence for 2 years. I'm 6 months into that, and I've got a number of 911s, and I can't really justify to the wife keeping 2 or 3. So yeah, I've got to get rid of that, and also the underlying factor is that we're buying a holiday home, so I need to take the equity from this car and put it into bricks and mortar rather than into cars. So I've owned it about 18 months now. I've only actually driven it for about 800 miles since I've owned it. Took me nearly 2 years to find the car. So I'm very, very, very fussy. As a collector, I want everything to be all above board and all documented, and as a typical Porsche owner, I want to know the exact history of the car, where it's come from, and who's owned it, and how much they've done to it, and how much they've loved it, because that has a big reflection in the quality of the car. I think we spoke earlier about the buying a car like this is the first stage in it, but you've got to be able to afford to run these cars. And skimping on servicing and putting in cheap German parts doesn't cut it for me. So this car has never had that in its life. It's always been looked after by connoisseurs and people that really love the car. So yeah, it's I've put in the advert as well that I would say it's probably in the top 3% of the 996s that are available on the market today. It's not Concours, but it's very, very close to Concours.
Excellent stuff. So what attracted you to the 996? What's your reason?
Power. It is without doubt the most cost-effective supercar you could ever buy. At the price that I'm selling for, I mean, you're up with the Ferraris and Lamborghinis in performance and stability, but it is an amazing machine. The engine, for those of you that maybe don't know this, the engine in the back of this is not the 996 engine that has all of the bearing failures. It's a different engine. It's the 917 GT Le Mans engine that won Le Mans many, many times. It is a complete thoroughbred, a completely different engine to all the ones that gave these cars, the 996, a bad reputation, and it's a different gearbox. It's a completely different car from all the ones, really. The turbo sits out by itself, and that's why I wanted it. I wanted something with motorsport history.
Sure.
I wanted something also that my wife could drive, hence the Tiptronic, and that I could drive as well, you know, in a performance manner, but also let my wife drive it slowly, and she loves it. She really loves the car.
So did she use it, or did you both use the car for sort of for work or for travel or holidays or trips or shows?
No, just basically when it was sunny.
Okay.
It's never been out in the rain.
So a weekend car.
It's definitely it's a weekend warrior. It spends its entire life in a waterproof garage, on a trickle charger under a Porsche cover.
Fantastic.
So it's well looked after.
So before you bought this car, how many other Porsches did you look at?
Before this one,
well,
I've owned about 10 in my life,
okay.
From 996s, 997s, 964s. Currently got 930 turbo. I've also had Cayennes and Macans, and right the way through the Cayennes as well. So I know my Porsches really well. But I looked at probably 40 cars before I chose this one.
So you were very meticulous in finding the right car then. Okay, so
absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
Because you can fall foul of these, which is why sometimes the market value is not quite so great on these, that people haven't looked after them.
Sure.
And the cost of upkeep is extremely high. I've done all the work on this, everything, and it's all documented. There's nothing to hide on this car. So,
fantastic. Because that was my next question, is to ask what kind of work has been carried out on the car. So since you've owned it, have you had to do much work on there?
Yes and no. Technically speaking, I needed to do nothing when I bought it.
Sure.
So then I immediately went and had 2 inspections on it. So I had an inspection on it when I bought it, and it flagged up slightly worn tyres and a scraped front rubber lip.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just wear and tear. Anyway, I've put on brand new tyres all round, high quality tyres. and the new front lip, and then I took it to Andy at Also Craft in Kings Clear, and he went through the car again for a full check.
Yeah.
And what I wanted him to find every single fault possible in the car. I wanted him to find the fault.
Sure.
He did. He wrote a list, and I've been through that entire list and had everything rectified. That is down to the stickiness of the buttons on the radio.
Right.
They've been replaced.
Yeah.
Screws, washers, even the right kind of head. So these get very sticky because of the component they put on them years ago. So I've bought new knobs. Everything has been looked at and addressed on this car. The mechanical bits that I had done, I wasn't happy with how the front was handling. So I've had the front end completely rebuilt with torsion bars, new uprights, new bearings, new top mounts. That's all been sorted. That's really the only mechanical stuff I had done, and it didn't really need it, but it didn't feel as solid as it should do.
Sure,
For
sure.
a car of this power and performance, you want it to be feeling absolutely planted, and that's the main bit of work I've done. Prior to me, the guys had a new turbo put on, 2 new wastegates, all the bearings renewed, and oil lines. And then servicing wise, it's had a full service history with Porsche up until I think it was 2014 or 2004. Can't remember, it's in the service details. And that's been main dealer all the way up until recently, and then it's taken over by specialists. So it's been serviced even when I've had it and it's not even been used, it's been serviced because you have to service it because of the moisture.
Yeah.
And also the brakes have all been done to a race spec, so they've got the carbon ceramic kit on the car, so it's 6-pot calipers, not 4-pot calipers.
Okay.
On this car, but it doesn't have the ceramic brakes because they are just, they're not needed for road performance, and they cost about £4,000 per disc.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's no point in doing it.
No,
But
absolutely.
the braking on this car is motorsport level. It's not road level. It is incredibly powerful, especially with the new tyres and the size of the wheels and the 4-wheel drive. It's the most solid car I've ever driven on the road.
So with all this in mind, do you feel there's anything else on the car that you'd like to be, that you feel needs to be done?
Driven. Honestly, that's it. There is nothing else needs doing to it. You'll see on the bodywork, I pointed out the 2 tiny marks on the car.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, those are the only 2 marks on the car. And if I was keeping it, I would address those. And it's minimal. It's absolutely nominal, as you'll display anyway. But nothing needs doing to it. Honestly, it is an absolutely genuine solid car. I'm a genuine guy, and I've told you the reasons why I'm selling it,
Of course.
which I don't really want to sell it, but it's there. I mean, everything, even down to you don't need windscreen wipers. That's normally the first thing you go and replace, isn't it? These don't need doing.
No.
There's nothing needs doing in the car,
Fantastic.
so it needs driving. That's it.
Someone needs to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic stuff. Well, thanks for your time. We hopefully will have a on the road road test shortly.